And then my days are, they're structured, but like I always say, make your life boring. If you know what's going to be in those time blocks, you're going to stay more consistent, you're going to get more things done, and you're going to make more money ultimately, and you're going to live a better quality of life because of growth and contribution. That's your two big things. So a lot of people are not thinking of like, how are they contributing? So my big thing is to contribute to my team. How can I help them grow? And then how am I growing every day? Because if I'm not working on myself to get better, how can I expect them to get any better?
Welcome to the Maryland Real Estate Influencers Podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the local real estate market. Join us as we chat with industry experts, uncovering tips, trends, and strategies to help you navigate Maryland's real estate landscape. Get ready to elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for tuning into another episode of Maryland Real Estate Influencers. Today, we have Lee Tessier with us. Lee, thank you so very much for making time in your day to come be a part of this.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. So, Lee, could you tell our crowd, for those that may be hiding under a rock and not know you, could you tell them a little bit about you, your business, and your team?
Sure. Going on, been in the business 17, almost 18 years. And we sell approximately 450 homes. We've done about 4,800 sales, a little over, billion and a quarter roughly in sales, and just take care of our clients. I mean, that's the main focus. If we take care of our clients, take care of the agents, then everything else comes along with it. So I've been in Maryland. I moved here when I was like 7 years old from Vermont. So originally that was my background as a kid, coming from there. I've been in Harford County for a little over 20 years, going to be married next month, 20 years. So,
Wow.
We went to high school together, but didn't date until much later and didn't get married till we were 30. So nice thing. We have 3 kids and 4 grandkids. So exciting.
Wow.
So kids are great.
Congratulations.
Way better. Yeah, thanks. And we have a property and we have a home in Ocean City for some vacation. And we have a place in Naples, Marco Island, Florida, that will spend winter time back and forth. So get a break from the cold here, and then also growing our business down there as well, since I'm licensed in Florida too.
Oh, I didn't realize you did that as well.
Yeah. Yep. So
Cool.
working on expanding. Failed like crazy for a year and a half. Now it's time to, turn that around.
That's wonderful. Marco Island is beautiful. It was one of my favorite vacations. We almost got eaten by a shark when we were down there.
Oh, really?
But all in all, it was lovely. And I think that the coolest thing that I had experienced is when the sea turtles came up and hatched eggs, and the entire block of hotels had to black out their lights because they go toward the moonlight. It was it's just so awesome to participate in something like that.
Yeah, we stayed at the hotel there in June, I think last year, the year before, because RPAC had their conference there. It was supposed to be in Hawaii, and then it got moved to Marco Island. But it was like you had to close your blinds, no lights on, like you had to make sure they were blacked out so the turtles wouldn't come back. But they were saying, like, I forgot, it was a rare amount, like it's 1 or 2%. It's not many of the turtles that make it. It's such a low number. There's thousands of them, but very few make it because they end up getting eaten by all the wildlife before it can make it all the way back to the ocean. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, really high number.
That's
so small.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I thought it was the neatest thing that I had seen in a long time.
Yeah, so love this business because you experience a lot of different things from different places, especially conferences and so forth that you attend.
Oh, yes.
If you're learning, you're earning. So
yes. Now you've got a pretty expansive team. Would you like to share with us a little bit about your team?
Yeah, so we have about 17 agents and 9 assistants in the office. We've broken all our office admin down to specialists. So anywhere from our 2 marketing specialists, transaction manager, listing manager, our office manager kind of oversees everything as well, director of operations, accountant, and who am I missing? Our top 2 agents, last year one sold 77, the other one sold 83 homes. So we have one separate assistant that helps both of them. That way they can leverage a little bit more, get closer to the 100 units a year. So getting them to the goals that they want to achieve. So
that is fabulous. And do you still sell, or are you more of a leader at this point? Oh, or
So
showing.
most of my time is leading, but I sell, 20 to 25 homes a year just to stay relevant. So either a super high end client that only wants to deal with me, a past client, something like that. But most of the cases, I try to hand most of them off to my agents. That way I know I get more by helping. So the more that I help, then if I help them get what they want, then I'll get what I want. Zig Ziglar, right? So
Yes.
you help enough others with get what they want, then you get what you want.
Very true. Very true. I didn't know you had a podcast, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
I did some digging, and I found out a lot more about you because I've known of you in the industry
Hmm.
for years. But I learned so much about you actually, probably from Condre Ishmael.
Oh
Is
yeah.
his podcast was so inspirational, and the way he speaks, I understand he's got a degree in communications, and it shows. But the way he spoke about you and your friendship with him, but not just that, about your leadership within the team, how well you take ownership when you're going to him for coaching,
Mhm.
and as a fitness mentor or a fitness coach, and then what you've done with your staff and how you've brought all of them to this. That showed a different side of you that I hadn't seen in the business communication that I've experienced with you over the years. And I was so moved by what I had heard in a podcast that it was about him. It wasn't about you, but I took that away and I thought, wow, I'd love to chat with him about that if you're open to that.
Yeah, for sure. So when I met him in 2015. He was referred to me about selling his home, and we were out looking, and I had let myself go. Well, I was working so many hours from like through my 2009 to 2014, 15. I was just putting so much time in. In 2013, I sold 138 homes myself, the one year out of 289. And I was like, I'm not having any life. I'm eating McDonald's, I'm like literally there just going through the drive through and just eating like crap. So when he was introduced to me, I'm like, perfect. I was looking for a trainer that I would respect and I would show up for, number one. And then we were out looking at properties the one day, and I was like, look, you train fat people, because I've gotten myself so out of control. And he was training mainly athletes, so kids that were going to college or he had several that were going from college to trying out for the pros, NFL and so forth. So I was like, man, will you train somebody like me? And he said, and he wasn't sure. He's like, all right, is it just me trying to like get his business period? And I'm like, now I'm authentic who I am. So, he's like, all right, be at the gym tomorrow at 6:30. Well, actually, I think we started like 6:45, and then we worked down to 6 a.m. And I would always show up. And then 7.5 years later, I was still showing up. I was just very consistent with them. If something works, I'll stick with something. I always talking to my agents about being consistent and persistent. But within the first 8 to 10 months, I could see like it wasn't just training with him. So it was training, being at the gym by 6. But then he said, look, I really want to take you to the grocery store, and I want to take you to a vitamin shop to make sure you
Oh,
know what you should be putting in your body. I'm like, perfect. Let me how about if my wife comes and my son comes? And he's like, yeah, great. So four of us, me, my wife, my son, and Q had went to Wegmans. So he was showing us like what to shop for. He was going through with ingredients, like pay attention to this, don't eat this. This, you want to shop more in the center of the store, looking at the organics and so forth. And then we went to vitamin shop, and he was going through, hey, here's the vitamins that you want and so forth. And so we went through that, and then it was like I was seeing a difference over the next 6 months. So what about if I bring my team in? I said, would you do a workout with us in the morning? I said, I'm pretty sure they're not going to want to come at 6. What about if we did it at 7? So we did it on a weekend. So I offered it to everybody on my team, like, look, if you want to come, we'll cover the training, and then he's going to go take us to Wegmans, and then we're going to go to the vitamin shop after. So that way you get all three things back to back. So my mother-in-law, she was in her 60s. One of my other agents, he's in his 60s. And, I had 20 somethings to 60 somethings that went. So there was 8 or 9 of us that went, had a great workout. In fact, and Joe, the one that's in his 60s, he was like getting flush. He hit like, and it wasn't a kill, like he didn't like kill us in some of the workouts that we had. But we had to go get him some vitamin C and some kind of juice that had some sugars in it and get him going. But I just remember that stuck out. And then went to the grocery store, went to Wegmans, and then we went over to the vitamin shop. And that was so helpful for everybody. And then we've done that a couple of times since, like, all right, who wants to come? I'll offer it. And come, show up. I'm there either way. He's been my top agent for several years. He started training with me twice a week. I said, because I had offered a couple of them, I was like, hey, do you want to come? So he would be there at 6 a.m. We'd be done by 7. And he was always a nighttime, working out. And I was like, do
Oh,
it in the morning. It starts your day off, your endorphin release. You just have such a better day. So he would come on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then Lisa, my assistant, had come a couple times. And then Austin, that's on the podcast with me, he played baseball for University of Maryland. He would cut him, and Brendan have another one that he's a bodybuilder, 25-year-old. I'm like, all right, you two are coming. You're going to be my rare bit. I said, do you know what a rare bit is?
no, I do not.
So a rare bit is on a dog track. It's the rabbit that runs around the inside of the track, like on
Okay.
big, and that's what the dogs chase. So I was like, all right, I'm old. I'm gonna need, you guys are 20 something. I need something that, because we were doing it was on field training. So we were running, sprinting, a lot of push-ups, bear crawls, kettlebells. So I said, all right. And Brendan's a big guy, like I have, pretty good size arms and so forth. But we were, he's got these huge legs, huge arms, and we were doing bear crawls, and we had to do push-ups after each one. And I could see like the lactic acid, like his legs, his arms were just like so pumped up. He's like, oh my God, this is killer. Because one day we did 600 push-ups. So
Oh my.
it was every line you're bear crawling to, and then you had 10 push-ups on each one, and you're going, sideways. You'd go down the field, then you'd sprint, and you had 6 sets. So it's like 100 in a set, and then you're doing it. So it was just really good workouts. But I think that one of the stats I heard recently is now with inflation, they said the good of it is there's more millionaires. They said 1 in 8.8 million. I mean, 1 in 8.8 people are a millionaire, but only 1 in 3,500 people actually have abs. And I was like, I'm going to work on that. So I actually have some abs. I've never had abs in my life. And, I was just so excited because I've been like training really hard. I've been going to F45 lately. So it's a high intensity workout, and they had a challenge. So, I dropped 10% in body fat since April. So I was like, all right, I went from, 17 down to 8.8. So nine and some change. But it was just that, hey, I'm going to change my mindset. But I also had another client of mine that wrote a book that's getting released next month. It's Near Perfect Body, and just the way you think about training and the way you think about eating. So he was talking about weighing yourself so many times during the day. Take a picture of yourself, especially when you're starting to see results. If you take a picture of yourself and you get ready to go eat a cookie or eat something, you're like, he said, pull that picture up, look at it and say, is it worth eating this cookie? And I was like, it does make you like, the biggest thing is the hardest part's here.
Yeah.
That 6 inches ear to ear. So what we think about that, and, having alcohol, because, I was, a social drinker. We'd go somewhere, I'd have 2 or 3 drinks or something. But every time I would, then I'd probably eat a little bit more. And then whatever I lost during the week, I'd gain back on the weekend. I'm like, I am not doing this. So I cut alcohol out. I was like, all right, my goal was to have just 1 drink every week. And I cut it down to 1 drink every 2 weeks. And you see the results from it. So I'm like, all right, I don't need alcohol. We just had our charity golf tournament on Monday. We had 140 golfers, great time. We raised money for kids, for a foundation to give back in scholarships. And I'm like, I am not drinking today, which is hard. Like usually I go, I have a great time. I'm like, all right, I'm not drinking because I have to weigh in for this competition in 2 days. So I'm not, I'm competitive. I want to win, and I want to hit my goals.
Yep.
So, I made sure I didn't drink any alcohol. Felt great, had a great time. I had seen everything that was going on. I was just very alert. I was like, okay, that was not bad. Like, because you think you need it to have more fun sometimes, which
So true. So true.
my
I've noticed the
personality.
same thing. And I
Yeah.
have cut way back, completely back. I did the 70. Wouldn't commit to the 75 hard challenge, but I did the 75 soft challenge. It
Okay.
was that walking or that second exercise outside in the dark, when there's, because I did it January through March, and it's dark,
Yeah.
and there's no street lights, and I don't have sidewalks in my neighborhood. And I'm like, I'm okay not doing an outside activity. I'll just do the inside. So I just modified it, and I did 2 exercises still, but I just didn't do it outside because of my concern was safety. But I still did it, and I still read, and I still drank the water, and I still did everything, and I didn't consume
Feels so much
alcohol.
better.
And
I kept on going with it. I'm like, okay, it's good. It's good. I went out on St. Patty's Day and I was compared to everybody else. I'm just like, I'm good. I
Yeah,
probably had one to their 4 drinks and I
right.
was fine with that. It was just like, it wasn't a big deal anymore once
Mindset,
you went
right? It's
without it.
all mindset. Everything that we do
Completely.
is so much mindset. And so many people don't realize it and they get caught up in doing what everybody else is doing. And
Yes.
it's like, all right, guys, what do you, if you want something different, you have to change, right? You just can't keep saying, I'm going to do the same actions and activities and behaviors and be getting a different result. Insanity, it's definition of
Yes.
insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So what are you doing? Like, I know for me, my days are very structured during the week. I'm up at 4:45. I go to the gym. I stretch at 5:30. I'm in the gym by 6. I'm out of there. I'm home by a little after 7. I go walk till 8. So I walk, I work out for an hour and then I walk for 2.5 to, depending on the morning. Sometimes I get 3.5 or 4 miles in, depending on how many neighbors stop and talk and this and that. But I usually try to walk at a brisk, like a 15.5 minute to 16-minute pace. So it's pretty like you're, good spike. And then I'm listening to some podcasts. So podcasts are so important. Is what are we filling ourselves up with?
Very
And
true.
then I'm in the office by 8:30. I have meetings by 9. And I know my mornings from 9 to 11 is meetings and talking to my agents and seeing where I can help them. And then my days are, they're structured, but like I always say, make your life boring. If you know what's going to be in those time blocks, you're going to stay more consistent, you're going to get more things done, and you're going to make more money ultimately, and you're going to live a better quality of life because of growth and contribution. That's your two
Mhm.
big things. So a lot of people are not thinking of like, how are they contributing? So my big thing is to contribute to my team. How can I help them grow? And then how am I growing every day? Because if I'm not working on myself to get better, how can I expect them to get any better?
That is so true. And I, again, that the episode with Q helped, or the podcast with Q helped me to see again a different side of you, because I understand that you didn't know that you were a Dave Ramsey follower. I know I am too. I'm
Yep.
actually I teach Financial Peace University as well.
Nice.
A way to give back. And I hear that you did that for your team as well. And even Q showed up to
Yep.
learn more and dig in.
Yeah, so 2010, 11 was my hard times that it was worth nothing. And then, just built on the philosophies of what he had said. Made sure I had a budget because we never had a budget before. That's number
Mhm.
one thing. And then make sure you're saving because so many people are worried about what everybody else has. And I'm like, compare you to you. What do you really want? Like, do you want to be, you mentioned about being at St. Patty's Day. I was like, do you want to be the drunk fool out there with everybody else? Or do you want to have fun, but you're also engaging and having like, maybe it's a little different,
Yes.
so just think of what's important to you. And I'm not telling you don't have fun, but it's a matter of being a little bit more controlled. Would your kids want to see you like that?
Oh,
So
that's such a good portion. As my children have become adults, that's what is sticking in the back of my head now more than
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, but I think Dave Ramsey was super influential in my life. Like that saying, when the student's ready, the teacher shows up. So I needed Dave back in 2010 and 11. So it's like he helped me get on a path. I needed Q back on 2015. So he got me on a path. Real estate wise, I've had business coaches over the years. So that comes into like another segment. Like, I think we all need somebody to either look up to, listen to. How do we take the learning curve out of things? So I've coached, I do some business coaching for Workman Success, which is through Burrow Workman. He was my coach for a lot of years. And then now I'm coaching with John Sheplack. And then also we coach with Bill Pipes that was working with him. But they've each have their own thing now. So I coach with both of them. One's more team structure. The other one, John's just helping me focus on where am I going growth wise and mindset and so forth too. So but if we're not investing in that, then what are we doing? And then,
Exactly.
podcast wise, like Ed Milet's podcast is one of my favorites.
Oh,
It's Tuesdays and Thursdays.
mm-hmm.
He has some really good guests on there. And then Thursdays are recaps. And then Dean Grazioso's Own Your Future. That's another one that's really good. If you haven't listened to that, he works with Tony Robbins now. He was big into real estate and so forth. A lot of, he owns several businesses, but very educational.
Yeah.
So it puts
I
me in
also
need.
like Jay Shetty and Mel Robbins. They're
Mm-hmm.
on my the things that I listen to quite
Yeah.
often. And I'll tell you, Rob Commodari's got a really good one as well,
Fizzle.
Chiseled. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, that man, the questions he asks and the people that he brings on has me in tears all the time.
Wow.
I text him, I'm like, Rob, you got to stop. I'm always crying. I say, it's just so moving. The questions that he answers and the people that he has and the stories that they've endured over their lives. And
Yeah.
it's extremely moving.
Yeah. I agree.
Ex-
Well,
ex-
Rob's a very good speaker too. If you've listened to him tell his story,
Mhm.
very interesting and so forth. And like, he's a good storyteller. Around Thanksgiving, he told me about his dog, like the dog. Did you hear the dog story for his son?
I've not heard the dog story yet.
So, like, not this is we'll get off subject, but anyway, his son's in Texas at school and at college, and he finds this dog. The dog's in the park, and it's a stray dog, and the dog kept following him. He's like, man, and he's talking to his dad. He's like, I want to bring this dog back. He's like, look, Rob, he's like, you can't take care of it. You're in college. You're not going to be able to take care of this dog too. And he kept seeing the dog like a couple days in a row. He's like, man, I don't want, I don't know what to do. So I think he called, like Humane Society to get the dog picked up, and they were going to try to find it at home and so forth. And then he kept going to the Humane Society all week, seeing him. And so Rob and his wife they were coming out for like parents' weekend. So they go see the dog and so forth. Well, Rob ends up talking to them there. And he kept saying, Dad, you got to take this dog. He's like, I can't. He's like, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. So Rob gets home. Now it's closer to Thanksgiving. I think it's like the week before. He remembered them saying that they ship from Texas to Baltimore, that they'll ship dogs back and forth. So he called and like, hey, is this dog still here? Blah, blah, blah. Well, the dog ended up being there. But Rob tells the story so much better. I mean, to the point where I'm almost in tears by the time he's finished telling me. So he goes there. He ends up getting the dog shipped in. He goes, picks up the dog. Well, now his son's coming home. Son knows nothing of this. So the son comes home for Thanksgiving, and here the son comes in the door, and the dog comes running at him, and he's like, "Oh my God!" Like, and he actually has a lot of it on video. You sending me the video of it. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
"You're such a good storyteller." So
Such a good storyteller. He is.
yeah.
He is. Wow. Oh, so you've talked to us about the amazing gifts that you've had and the things that you've done for your team over the years to
Mhm.
pour back into them. And we've had a really rocky last 12 months in the industry, but the numbers that you gave for your top agents, 77 and 83, that's quite a lot of production for a single agent to do, even with admin staff. So what have you and your team done in the last 12 months to pivot?
So it is more focus and it's more contacts. So we're in a needs-based market. So this is not a regular real estate market. They're buying and selling because of needs,
Need.
and they're not buying for wants whatsoever.
Mhm.
Like somebody that wants to buy, you're going to waste so much time driving around, all the other stuff. And it's like, you have to educate them more than anything and let them know, be okay being the bad guy. Like so many people don't like controversy, and it's not controversy, but you're telling them like, this is the market. This is what you're going to have to do to buy this house. You're going to have to offer, and it's changing a little bit right this second, but you've had to offer 20,000 over, you've had to offer $70,000 over on some of these listings. Like we sold my neighbor's house. They end up getting $77,000 over list price, no inspections, waive the appraisal. Do people want to do that? Like they needed a house, right? So, and then we had another offer that was really close to that. And then we had one that was almost list price. And I was like, all right, so there's a $60,000 spread, 60, almost $70,000
Wow.
spread between what they offered. I'm like, what? And then the second offer was close to the first one. But are you willing to compete in a market like that? And if you're not, that's okay. I just want you to know what it is. So like, go sit on the sidelines for a while, wait for the market to cool down, and it may be 2 or 3 years before you can buy. If your needs change, then this is what you're going to have to compete against for now.
Right.
But if not, we can contact you in 6 months, 3 months. If we see a shift in the market, then this is what we're going to do. But it takes a lot more contacts, consistency and persistency. That's the two things that most people suck at, right? You've got to, no matter how many no's you're getting, you still have to be persistent. But you
Yes.
also have to tweak, like, what am I saying? What is my verbiage? What is my language? What is my tonality? Am I mirroring and matching? Am I really listening to what they're saying? How is my energy when I'm calling? How is my mindset? Do I think this is a bad lead? Going back to leads, some people think, well, Zillow's only good lead, right? Like, oh, I'm paying $400 for this lead. Well, the average conversion on a Zillow lead right now is 13 months. Used to be average of 3 months. That's changed drastically. Average conversion on a pay-per-click Google lead is 13 months. So now you're the same as a Zillow, except Zillow's doing pay-per-click for all these leads too, except they're doing some, more incubation on the lead and trying to find out, do they have needs and so forth, and then get them over to an agent. But if it comes back to mindset. What are you thinking, and how are you thinking before you even pick up the phone? If you're thinking like, oh, this is a bad lead, it's a pay-per-click lead, it's going to be a bad lead, right? Versus, oh, I'm going to hurry up and get this Zillow call that's calling in. That's going to be a really good lead. Well,
Right.
sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. It's 10% of the time it's really good. 10% of the time it's not, or 90% of the time it's not. But you're going into it with a different mindset.
Yes.
So much of it's mindset driven. And then are you going to be consistent with your daily activities? And if you're not, you're probably going to be out of the business.
So do you set up a daily success plan for your team, or do you allow your team to create their own daily success plan?
So we use a daily success habit tracker every day.
Oh,
So
I
made them
like
in those
that.
spiral binders. So, and then they have a note section on the back. So this is mine fresh for the day. But so they track that of what they're doing. We also use Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss tracks all of their activities for themselves. I was like, look, I don't want my thumb on you. I want to give you things that you need to do, and you have to track this for yourself. Our sales manager is still going to oversee it. I'm going to still spot check stuff. Our director of operations is going to spot check stuff. And if you're not performing, you're costing us a lot of money, right? We spend a lot of money on lead incubation and so forth. But if you're not going to follow up, you're not going to be here. You have to be performing. But are you doing role play? We do role play 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What do you do? What's it sound like? What are you doing? How are you, like, how's your body language? Are you make sure you're moving? Are you sitting there? Are you slumped down and talking this way? Are you projecting? Like, how are you talking? What kind of energy do you have when you're talking to them? Or do you know what you're saying? Are you hitting your 6 key points? LP Mama's been around forever. I don't know who started that, but we've been using it since 2010, and it still works. Key points to have a conversation. I'm not reading scripts, but I'm going through location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment. There's your 6 keys. You're going through them. And if you don't know them in the right away, like, you'll write them out. All our agents will write them out first. Once they get to know them better, then it's writing LPMAMA. And then they're dashing through them as they're having a conversation. Like we were role playing this morning, and then he's like, oh, shoot, I forgot to hit agent. I'm like, yep. What does that sound like? Let's see where you blend that in the conversation. Because you don't want to just say, are you working with an agent? Because if you do, you go to a store, you're looking for something, and they say, do you need any help? Nope, I'm just looking, right? There's your defense. Oh yeah, I have an agent. I have an agent. I'm like,
it's just trying to get them to give you a yes.
Yeah, instead, if you said to them, okay, tell me, how have you been looking at houses lately? Oh yeah, well, yes, I have. Okay, well, how have you been getting into them?
That's it.
And then it gives them a second of like, yeah, have you been going to open houses? Have you been like, oh, we're calling people from the sign. Okay, do you realize they work for the seller? I'm a buyer specialist. I would represent you and have your buyer's best interest rather than the seller's best interest. So some of these things that you're saying to, again, lower those defenses.
Yes.
It takes this down, take it down, take it down. And then them realize like, hey, I care. I'm just trying to help you. If you don't want any help, that's fine too. But you're trying to find the ones that need, because you only have so much time. So you're sifting through. We have like 46,000 leads in our database. So you got to sift through them constantly, because average time is 13 months, and some people are years. I mean, some of the ones that should have bought a few years ago, now do they have enough need?
Yes.
Maybe not.
That is so true. That is so true. I like the older leads myself. They're easier, I think, because they've somebody's already spoken to them. They already know what they need to do typically, and that they're just waiting till they have enough funds saved, or they've been self-employed for a period of time and they have the documents needed to move forward. It just seems like they're easier because they've been incubating for such a long time.
But a lot of it still comes back to mindset too. Because if they, like I said, if they're thinking it's a bad lead, or they're not thinking the quality is as good as it should be, then their mindset's just not, like, it's projected out. No matter what they're like, there's this thinking, and then the small tweaks that they say to their body language, to tonality, all those things factor in.
Oh, yeah.
rather than if you have somebody that's energetic, not loud, because I think the loud people too, like they talk so freaking loud and you're like, holy shit, like you're holding the phone up, away from your ear. That's not doing you good. Energy is just, hey, positive. Are they hitting key points? Are they flowing? Are they talking well and respectfully versus da 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 and berating you? Because
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I see people will go in and they'll ask a question, and they'll like ask 3 questions in a row. I'm like, now they're confused. They don't even know what question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
One at a time, and then get the answer, ask a question immediately after.
Right.
Answer it, ask a question immediately after. Know where your flow is going.
I
And you
love
have to
that.
control, if you don't control the conversation, they're going to control the conversation and you're going to be out of it. So
Definitely, definitely. What skill set do you and your team work on? Does it change throughout the year? Like you're working on different things as need arises? Or is it because the change in the industry? Is that how you
yes,
all
yes, and
choose?
yes. So yes, yes. So I'm constantly having conversations with coaches, and then I'm also talking to different people across country. So I'm in several different groups, from my radio and TV group to different coaching groups, and I'm seeing what's happening because we're always a lagging market here. So California, Florida, Vegas, Arizona, Austin, Texas, so different places that are leading markets. See what's happening there, and then what transitions do we need to have, what training do we need to hit on, because if it's just interest rates, all right, how do you overcome the objection? Some of it you can't overcome. If they're
Mhm.
3% or less and they're going to 7.5%, it just the numbers don't make sense unless they have enough pain. If they have enough pain, hey, let's save some of that money rather than putting all the money down, and you're going to have to pay that towards a payment, because your payment's $1,500 higher now. If you saved 15,000, you got what, an extra 10 months. Hopefully rates change and then, but let's say you may need $30,000 to make up that 1,500. So you're 20 months. Rates
Mhm.
hopefully will come back down by then, but none of us have the crystal ball. We can't tell. I mean,
Right.
so many people are confused with this economy, what direction we're heading in. I mean, anywhere from like a Elon Musk to anybody in between.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Now, when are you seeing, I don't know, if you pay attention to this portion of it or not, but when your sellers are moving and
Mhm.
they're selling their home, are they paying off their debt, or are they holding it with them and taking it with them to the new home, or do you not
It
know that
depends. It
information?
really depends on case by case more than anything else. I
Okay.
would say some of them they're getting rid of their debt, and some of them are saving the cash because cash is king.
Cassius.
And I just had a couple conversations with different business owners and stuff yesterday, and a couple of them are in finance and commercial lending and so forth. And I think there's definitely going to be some shifting in the economy. I think there's going to be opportunities.
Hmm.
What are the opportunities? None of us know yet. Is it going to be commercial? Is it going to be residential? What is it that's going to have the best opportunities? Is it going to be certain stocks and bonds, or where is the opportunity? But there's going to be some. There's a ton of cash sitting on the sideline. I know we've been, putting more away just because I want to be ready for a.
Hmm.
I don't think we're going to have like a 2008 and 10, with real estate. There's going to be some foreclosures. There's going to be some opportunities. If you're not set up for them, you're going to be out of luck.
Oh, yes.
But
I actually have my
you're,
children saving for that right now, so that when the foreclosures do hit the market, that
yeah,
the kids could take advantage, well, my adult kids can take advantage of that
yeah. I
now.
mean, when you look at inflation, you look at how much money more that they're spending towards food, towards
Hmm.
housing, towards utility costs. Everything's through the roof. Look at
It
like
is.
a car payment now. Look at a car payment is for somebody. Average car payment they said is over $700 a month. I'm like, that's the average. I was like, holy crap.
It is. It's crazy what's happening out there. I know we're coming up to our time, and I want to give you an opportunity to share with us the goals that you have for yourself and your team as we're recording this at the mid to the end of September of
Yeah.
2023, as you're closing out this quarter and you're starting a new and preparing for the new quarter. What goals do you have?
Yeah, our goal is to get to 400 sales for this year, 700 for next year. Our bigger goals are adding to our team, helping the ones that want to be helped in today's market. So the agents that are struggling, I've talked to so many that were selling 12 to 15 homes, and now they're selling two in a year. It's like, all right, we have the capacity. I have new agents that are coming on my team that are selling 15 to 20 homes a year still in today's market. And I have my other ones that are selling 60, 70 rather than 70, 80, but they're still producing a high level. So if you need somebody that's going to pour into you, but you've got, like, we're super picky on who we take on our team. But if you're one that's very driven, that wants to work, you're hungry, humble, smart, we're looking for them. So if you have some interest, give us a call. I'm going to be also hiring a new personal executive assistant. I haven't said that anywhere yet. So my assistant's going into the sales side of things, gives flexibility. Now she's a grandmother and her granddaughter is out of town, like she's in Florida, so she's going to be traveling. So I'm going to be hiring for that position, but more importantly too is agents. So we know
And how
that
can
a
these
lot of
people
them
get
are
a hold of
struggling.
you?
My office number, 410-638-9555. They can find me on Facebook or Instagram. You can direct message me there, or my email is lee@leetessier.com. And there's a spelling behind me. So,
Yes.
but I think that would be it.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Lee, and thank you for dropping your wisdom on to everybody. And to those of you listening, please share this recording, this podcast, with 2 of your friends and colleagues that would find it beneficial. And please leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And until next time, thank you all.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you for joining the Maryland Real Estate Influencers podcast. We'd like to ask you 2 favors. Number 1, forward this podcast to 3 of your favorite realtor friends. They'll thank you for it, and I'll thank you for it too. Number 2, we'd love reviews. It helps get the word out.